Hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar, Getting Started with Tempo Planner. Today we're going to show you some key steps that will help you successfully get started with Tempo Planner. And with that, let's get started. So we're going to start with an introduction, and for that, we're going to add our videos. So hi everyone, my name is Olof Kristiansdottir, and I'm a marketing director here at Tempo. We have an excellent lineup with me here today. Presenting is Carolyn French, manager in customer success, and Edna Kruger, our instructional content specialist. And on hand for Q&A, we have Mayank Agarwal, our senior product owner. And would you all please take a moment to introduce yourselves, starting with Carolyn?
Hi, thanks, Olaf. My name is Carolyn French. As Olaf mentioned, I'm a manager here in customer success and a Tempo product expert. I come with a background in the Atlassian ecosystem, and I've implemented Jira, Jira Service Desk, Confluence, and here at Tempo, our mission in customer success is to get you quickly to value and success for what that means for your company. So here in our Getting Started with Tempo Planner, that is our goal. So very nice to be here today. Thanks.
All right, and Edna.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here today. I'm a learning content designer at Tempo for about 3.5 years now in the Montreal office. I focus mostly on creating the how-to videos that are on YouTube to help people learn how to use our products. And I also dip my paws into other learning content like the Help Center and onboarding and occasionally webinars like today. So on to you, Mayank.
Thank you, Edna. Hi, everyone. My name is Mayank. I am a senior product owner here at Tempo. My goal is to make this product as useful for you guys as possible, and also try to learn more from these webinars and these sessions so that we can continuously improve our products. So yeah, looking forward for this session. Thank you.
Super. Thank you so much for being here today. We're going to stop our video so that you have an easier time concentrating on the content. And we'll start with taking a look at today's agenda. Now, we will start with a quick overview of what Planner is all about, and then Edna will take you through the setup and rollout of the product. Carolyn will show you how to start planning and then reporting on your planned time and how to use that as a feedback loop on your projects. Now, a note to the audience that most of the demos presented today are on cloud, but we will make sure to let you know what platform we are showing each time and the availability of each feature. And as usual, we'll round up the session with a Q&A at the end. All right, and we are actually going to start with a poll. So what we want to know is an easy one. How long have you been using Tempo Planner? And I think we have almost everyone. So we'll go ahead and end the poll and we'll take a look at the results. So a nice mix that we have here today. Some that haven't started using Planner. Hopefully you'll see the value that Planner can bring you. And then we have some that are on a trial, have been here less than 12 months. And we do have some long-term users too. So maybe want to review their setup, learn some tips and tricks. Hopefully we'll have something for everyone here today. So we'll stop sharing that poll. But since we have already started polls, we're going to go ahead and continue into the next one. We wanted to know whether you are on cloud, server, or data center. All right, I think that is everyone. So let's go ahead and end the poll and we'll see the results. So again, we have a nice mix of people on cloud and people on on-premise, and some that are not sure. So we'll try to show you features that are available on both platforms, make sure to mention when there is a difference, but hopefully you'll all get a chance to learn more about Tempo Planner today. So we'll go ahead and close the polls. These are all the polls for today. So thank you so much for participating. Now let's get cracking on the presentation itself. Now, what is Tempo Planner? Tempo Planner is a capacity and allocation tool that directly integrates with Jira. It is perfect for project teams with strict deadlines, where resources are allocated based on the availability, their role, and more. And Planner often replaces complex planning spreadsheets, and they allow you to get projects started and understand how well your planning is doing. And this in turn allows you to make projects happen, understand why projects fail, and try to predict the future and make better decisions. Now, we recently also acquired a road mapping tool, and ALMWorks, producers of Structure, which is a project management suite of tools for Jira. And more details on that can be found on our website. And we have an upcoming Fireside Chat webinar we are hosting with ALMWorks in February, and we'll make sure to share that registration link with everyone if that is of interest to you. Well, what are some of our customers using Tempo Planner for? And some of the main use cases we see is, first of all, for resource capacity, to balance workloads and ensure on-time delivery and minimize the overcommitment of resources. Now, for customers and professional services, it's more about estimating the need and opportunities for new projects. For others, it's about allocating resources directly to Jira issues to achieve real-time, accurate insights into utilization and availability. For some, it's more about easy reporting to measure against your original plan, whether that is for a status update or, lastly, it's to learn and improve your efficiency for future projects. And this is in combination with tracked time. All in all, Tempo Planner is a great app for teams managing their work in Jira to get that extra advantage and make projects happen. And with that, I will hand it over to Edna, who will walk you through some essential first steps to get started. Take it away, Edna.
Okay, thank you. I will take over the screen here. So I'm just going to show you a few things today that you should set up or check before you get Tempo Planner even rolled out to your company. And that includes the enable plan approval for approving vacations and time off, and the internal issues that help you actually plan your vacation and time off, and also the workload and holiday schemes, which help you know the capacity of your team members. Just a note that I'm going to be showing these features on Tempo Cloud today. So the good news is that if you already have Tempo timesheets installed, and many of you might, most of these things will probably already be set up. But if you're starting from scratch, don't worry. I've got videos on the YouTube channel that can help you get Tempo Planner set up with some of these things and a few other things that I'm not going to go over today, but they're covered. So let's start with the enable plan approval. And this basically lets you incorporate a review and approval process for plans in Tempo. And approving plans is a great check that lets managers make sure that it's okay for their team members to take time off, just to make sure you don't want your whole team to be gone at the same time, which is not great. Or you want to make sure that somebody taking vacation doesn't have an impact on an important project schedule or crucial time, so that kind of thing. So I'm going to swipe over to Tempo here, and I hope you can see that. So first of all, we're in settings here, and you need to have the Tempo administration permission in order to do this. So all I do is go to planning time and turn on enable plan approval, and then you're ready to basically have all your plans approved. And related to planning vacation and time off are the internal issues. Again, if you have Tempo timesheets installed, you might already have these things set up for your company, but they let you log time and plan time for things like vacations. Well, maybe you can't plan sick time, but you log time to it, or things like company meetings or gravity recalibration, depending on where you are. So having these configured here makes it all these issues easily viewable and available to everybody who's using Tempo for logging and planning time. And if you want more privacy, you don't want all these internal issues to be shown to everybody, like say if you have contractors accessing your Tempo instance, you can create a Tempo account of the internal type, and one's there. I won't get into detail, but that lets you log and plan time to the account. So that gives you a little bit more privacy over permissions. So finally, I'm going to go back to settings here and go over the workload and holiday schemes. And these determine the capacity for each team member's time to work. So again, if you have timesheets installed, this will probably already be set up. The workload scheme basically shows you the employee's standard work week, and here the default is 5 days a week, 8 hours each day. You can edit this, or you can create new ones for whatever you need, like part-time one here, for example, just 4 hours. And you make sure to assign the correct person to the correct scheme, and people can only be assigned to one scheme at a time, just to keep things straight. So the holidays scheme, these show you the public holiday schedule in each country or planet, depending on where you are. So you would need to create one for each location, which is important if you have international offices, for example. And I'll just show you quickly. This is what they look like. So the fixed days are the days that are the same every year. Floating days are different every year. So you have to actually create a different holiday scheme every year. So in Planner, I'm going to go over to Planner here, open it up. And here, just so you know, I've filtered what's being shown here by the teams that I'm working with. So you can filter to just see what you want to see, which is pretty handy. So here we have all the workload scheme sort of results. So you see Amy here has 3 out of 8 hours already planned for her. So she has like an 8-hour-a-day capacity for work. And if I go over here, this pink, this is the result of the holiday scheme. And you see it's 0 out of 0 hours, means that no time is expected, and you don't log time usually on holidays, which is great because you don't want to work then. So I have videos on how to do all of these things, like to create holiday and workload schemes, so I won't get into that too much. So the next thing that is important are teams. So these are very important to have for Planner, and again for timesheets. If you already have timesheets installed, you probably have your teams set up for your company. But if not, you would need to do that for Planner, because without teams, basically nobody has permission to create plans or view them or manage them, since that's essentially controlled with team permissions. So on the team page here, you see I've got teams created for all sorts of things. They can be for each department in your company, or if you have special projects or initiatives, whatever you need it for. And to create a team is pretty straightforward. You just click Create Team and fill out this information. And I'll show you one that I've already got set up here. So once you have created a team, you add the members. You can add them one by one from here, or you can bulk add members, which is really handy. If you have a Jira user group with all the people in it already, you can select it and add it here. And you can even add generic resources to your team, which is really great. So in this case, I know I'm going to be hiring a developer, in the next 2 weeks, but I'm not sure who it is or when their starting date is. So, and Carolyn will go over generic resources in more details when we talk about planning for future projects. And one tip is that it's best to not have more than 25 members or so in a team, just because that will affect Tempo's performance, and also it makes it kind of hard to manage a lot of people in one team. So what's really important for Planner here, though, are the Tempo permissions, and I'll go up here. And here you see the plan. These are all the 3 permissions that apply to Tempo Planner. I've also got timesheets installed, so these ones are related to timesheets. So here you have the view plans, manage plans, and approve plan permission. And by default, the team lead will have all these permissions. And you see the members don't have any permissions by default, but you may want to give them view plans, so that lets them view the plans of their fellow team members, like they can see what they're working on or when they're taking vacation, so they can help, maybe that helps them plan accordingly. So these permissions are only for each team, but as a resource manager, you probably want to see all the teams across the company. So instead of going into each team and setting your permissions here, which can be pretty tedious if you have a lot of teams, you can create what are called full access permission roles. And you see these ghosted here. And that just shows you that these are applying to this team as well as all the other teams in the company. You can see them here, but to edit them or create new ones, you can go into settings and permission roles. And I've already created a permission role here for resource planning. And this lets Catherine Evans view plans and manage plans for all the teams across the company. So you can choose to have full access, which means every single team, or if you do restricted, you can set the particular teams that you want to have access to. So I'll just click that there. So as you can imagine, you probably don't want to give this type of permission to just anybody. So you probably just have a few select people who will have these superpowers, like resource managers, or maybe even somebody in HR or upper level management. And one great thing about these full access permission roles is that when new teams are created, you'll automatically get these permissions for them. So that can save you a lot of time and trouble. And finally, like I said, I don't have my slides here, but there are two things that the team members can actually do to help out for more accurate planning. And that is to connect their Google or Office 365 calendars to Tempo. And I'll just go on the apps page here. And they can also plan their vacation or time off as early as possible. And that gives an indication of when they're going to be available. So to connect their calendars, you go to the apps page here. And as you see, I've already got my Google Calendar installed, but I can install my Office 365 calendar. And it's important that the enhanced calendar with automation is selected. And I also can choose to show busy titles. And that's sort of a way of hiding just the titles of my calendar events so that other people can't see what I'm doing. Or you can leave it off and then people can see just the titles of your calendar events in Tempo Planner. So I'll just leave it on busy for now and I'll sign in. And I have already something conveniently here. So now I'm connected up. So I just go to Tempo Planner to see these events in Tempo Planner. And I go into settings and simply say show calendar events. So I'll just expand that here. So now for all the people who have their calendars connected, like Amy here, I can see how many hours she has already booked. So as you can imagine, once you see what people have booked for their time, you know what their capacity is for the rest of their day. And if I click on this here, I can see she has not hidden her titles. So I can see that she's in a Scrum and a regular meeting. If I go down to Catherine Evans here, I see that she's got calendar events too, but she has decided to just keep it busy for whatever reason. She wants to keep these private. So privacy is often something that you might want to decide on as a company or as a team, but these are controlled per team members' calendars. So if I was a resource manager or team lead, I can now see how much time, say, Amy has here. So I can create a plan for her here that will use up the remaining time that she has of the day, so she has a 3.5 hour plan. And because she has all the same hours of the day, I can just drag across there. And now she's fully booked for that week, which is very handy. So as you can see, basically like knowing somebody's calendar events really helps to plan to their capacity because you'll know exactly how much time they have for actual work. So the other thing that can really help managers plan time is for team members to plan their vacations and time off as soon as they know. So I'm going to go ahead here into the future and I'm going to plan a wonderful vacation for Amy here just by dragging across her timeline. And in issues, I will go to the internal issues, and this is what we saw earlier. So all of them are listed here, and I'll just choose vacation. You can add a description if you want, up to you. The dates are already in here because I dragged across those days. So all I need to do, she works a regular 8 hours a day. I'll say 8 hours a day. And because we had the enabled plan approval on, I can select her manager as the reviewer, for example. and click plan time. So here it's showing pending for now. The reviewer will receive a notification that they actually need to approve the plan. And then after they approve it, it becomes an actual plan. So if you want more information on this process, I do have videos that show how to both plan and approve vacations. So that's pretty much it to help get set up before you even really start getting into Planner. So as you see, the team leads and resource managers could definitely see ahead of time if projects can be adequately staffed or if team members are working to capacity like here, and also to see who's available for future projects. So if I go in the future, I see nobody's got anything booked yet, so that's great. And speaking of future projects, I will hand it over to Carolyn, who will show you how to plan all of these things. Take it away, Carolyn.
All right, great. So thanks, Edna. We're going to keep building upon the setup that you were showing and get all of us to quickly to value by starting to line up work in the pipeline. One of our new features in Cloud, generic resources, which will be coming to server and data center as well. We'll go through that. We'll go through planning on the Jira project, and then also, which is a nice Tempo planner feature, and then how we update the issue on the plans for users as they pick up work. So whether your organization is bidding for customer projects months into the future, or your company wants to plan its delivery schedule for new product features over the summer, while taking into account, as Edna showed us, the summer vacation schedules, knowledge is power. And planning is dynamic too, which Tempo Planner is great at. So in this section, I'll cover some tips and tricks on how to plan a few months into the future, and then how to adjust those plans as the date approaches. This concept that we call generic resources, which are resources that you think you will need, but are still unknown at this point in time. You may know them as unnamed or placeholder resources. Many of our customers, before this feature came out, were setting up fake Jira users to use as these placeholders. However, in cloud, we know that comes at a cost. So we recently deployed this lightweight version of generic resources into the Tempo Planner app. You can use generic resources to visually have an idea of when you will need a certain kind of resource for a future project. We also embed generic resource as part of a team as well. So you can have an idea of who will complete the work, and then you can assign it to a person on the team easily. And I'll show you that. But you won't be able to get these generic resources in your reporting. So keep that in mind, that this is a visual representation of what you will need down the line. The planning on a Jira project is really a unique feature of Tempo Planner. You can also still, of course, plan on epics and other issue types within the project. But when you are a resource manager looking across teams and wanting to plan further into the future, you may want to keep a high-level placeholder of a team on a project. So you can do that with generic resources as well. I'll show you how flexible it is in the demo. As you and your team lead or your team lead start to plan at a more detailed level for the next month or so, you can easily manipulate the plans to set up what everyone is working on. You can set up Jira filters for quick access to the issues you need to plan on, and then you can drag and drop into the resource planning view to plan on users. You can also put weekly or bi-weekly repeating plans on the schedule, and I'll show you a few keyboard shortcuts to get you modifying plans quickly and efficiently. So let's jump in. I'll show you what it looks like in the app. So here we have a resource planning view. So I get here from the Tempo app and going into then the resource planning view. So this is your main screen as a resource manager that you would use to go ahead and plan for your resources and filter into teams. So here I've set up two teams, the green devs and the resource managers team, where I can plan in advance. And I'll show you those two teams, but this is, the view of everything I have access to view. So if you're not seeing something, go ahead and check the permissions that Edna went through, and maybe you need, as a resource manager, to be in that full access role to be able to see all the plans. So from here, you can, of course, filter your view. And so if you want to see the current period, next period, those are quite nice to be able to have dynamic as well. So this we have set at current month. We can apply that. We also can toggle between the weeks view and the days view. So when you're planning in the future, of course, weeks view is very convenient. And I also filter, as I mentioned, I filter by these two teams. It will remember that I had this filter because I've saved it in the past. And if you want to see other, filters here, you can save them as well to see, different teams combined or different roles or whatever you want basically to line up here. So what we have here then is our main view across the team, these two teams here. We have the plan time located as a little button up here. We also have this issue panel issue picker side panel, sorry, long name. You can toggle it back and forth to get more real estate on your screen as well. So just know that it's there, and it's just another way to set up how you're planning time. In fact, you can also plan time from the issue view in Jira itself, as you're probably used to doing with logging time there as well. So it's the same section of the Jira issue view. So from here, you can set up what your filters are going to be. And as Edna was showing, also internal issues show up here. So it's a nice way to configure what you want to see at a quick glance, and then be able to drag and drop onto this main view. So right now, we selected a Jira project. We're working on Green Cycle app. We also have another Jira project, Lunar Labs, but you can certainly come up with your own filter across projects if that's what you need to manage as well. So I'm just going to go into Teams to show you a bit of the setup here for generic resources that I mentioned. You'll already see a few down there, but let's kind of get into how you can do the setup here. So I created a team called the Resource Manager Planning Team. And on this, if you're looking months into the future and you don't know which team is going to work on something yet, you can even do a generic resource as Team A, Team B. Really, all it takes is, you can create whatever you want this name to be. So for those of you as well that only know you'll need, someone with Java skills, you could literally write a Java developer as your generic resource and be able to see it'll jog your mind of what skills also you need or what role you need as a generic resource in the future, instead of just body 1, body 2, body 3. But it's cool. We've seen customers use this for other types of, normally we're talking in a team, we're talking people, but other types of resources people have used as well to block out. So this is quite easy. We could add another, say we know we have 3 teams in the future that we can choose from, and then as we get closer, assign it to which team is going to work on it. So that's a kind of a more creative way to use this. Another way to use this would be if we don't know who we want to hire, but we know we need a developer for this team. So we added a to be hired developer as a generic resource on the Green Devs team, which is the dev team working on the Green Cycle app. So I'm just going to jump back into the resource planning view and go ahead and let's do some assignments. So I'll just show you how we're going to assign into the future. So right now we're looking kind of short term. So I'm just going to click through to move into the future, but you can also you can set this basically as long as you want and just scroll to the right to be able to plan. So I have this until April. Let's just do this until the end of June. And as you see, we can just scroll right and you're able to see who's at capacity, who's not. So when this is collapsed, you won't see exactly who's working on what. If you do need to expand it, you can click here, expand all, and it'll go ahead and give you what every person is working on. The reason why we collapse it, of course, is so that you don't have as much visually on the screen, but sometimes you do need this. So that's fine as well. And you can also individually open them, as you can see here. So let's go ahead then and take a look at planning Team A on a project, maybe starting here in the end of March. So here I can just say we want to start on the 1st of April. We'll go ahead and book through April. So you just easily drag over. Yeah, and then we'll plan to the end. And you'll see here in the plan time dialog, you can choose issue or you can choose project. And so this is a nice way for us to go ahead and search through for your project if you don't yet have everything broken down yet, or maybe you do and you just want to visually know you've assigned Team A in the future and then start moving it into what the team and what they're working on as the time comes closer. From this dialog, you'll see there, you can make it into a period, of course. That's what I did when I was dragging. But you can also just do one day. You can include non-working days as well. You can plan per day, and you can also plan for a total. So I'm just going to plan per day, 8 hours. And also I had a question about repeating. You can do weekly and bi-weekly repeating plans. So that is something that is possible. And if you do have your calendar synced and it's a plan that is yours, you can also bring that over as a plan. So I'm just going to click plan time here. Oh, before I leave, I just wanted to show you, this is also the dialog for looking through your generic resources. So they're distinct from Jira users, as I mentioned before. If you do create a Jira user with a kind of placeholder name, it will behave exactly like a Jira user in every screen. This is our way of doing a generic resource within the app. So you won't see this outside of Tempo. All right, and then we'll click plan time. All right, so you'll see this Team A now has this project of Green Cycle app, which is great. As you want to start reassigning. So you'll see here these generic resources have a little button to the right of it, calling it reassign plans. So that's if you do have, in this case, it would work nicely if we had a developer and we knew they needed to work on a part of this project. So I'm just going to go into, I've already set up, this is the filter for the project. And we've already broken down the Green Cycle app into a few epics here, which is great. Let me go ahead then and see what the developer can start working on. So probably we'll need the PM to do some of the research activities. So we can book Catherine Evans. She looks like she's free there starting April 1st. So what we can do is drag and drop into Catherine Evans. So the plan will show up here, and then I'm just going to book her for a week here to do some research. Then we'll look at the developer and see they're going to do maybe some back-end and front-end architecture here. And then I'm going to expand it and go ahead and drag over. If I did see I made an error, I can just delete it very quickly from here. All right. And then if I did want to split this out, maybe I want Lars to take half of this because I'll only, I'm not sure yet if I'll have a developer. One of the tricks you can do is for splitting plans is to press Control on Windows and Command on Mac, or you can use this little 3 dots in the corner to say split. And then when you're hovering over it, you can decide which day to split it on. So let's take it after Tuesday. We'll go ahead and split the plan. And then from here, we can drag up to Lars. So, yep, there we go. So we've got the next, we've split the plan between the 2 developers here. And we can go ahead and, yeah, plan out the rest of our time here. So that's that's a quick overview of how you can start managing your plans in the future and be able to see just at a quick glance visually. Let's go next into reporting with a capacity report, where you can look at the numbers instead of this kind of visual representation to see availability and planned time. You got a little peek there of a sneak peek of the what our new export of the capacity report looks like. So we do have that upcoming here. We have a early access program called Tempo Lab, and it's currently in there. And I'll show you how it works. But basically, you can export the raw data from your resource planning screen that we looked at to be able to use that for further planning or in another system as well. Capacity is a huge buzzword, and it dovetails very nicely into what Tempo Planner can provide. Making sure you're not overcommitted, knowing when you need to hire. These are all important resource management questions that the capacity report can help assist with. The report itself lets you see the planned hours and the time available for your team. And when viewing capacity for the team, the time available is calculated based on each team member's workload and holiday schemes. So some of you may be using our in cloud, I have to say. This is cloud. I'll have another slide on server and data center, which do differ in this area. We had a team timeline capacity report, which you still can access. And it's a way to switch back and forth between teams, time periods, and see availabilities. It's still there. It's not featured as prominently in the UI because we were having the request for being able to export this data and use it in a different way. And so as our product moves towards resource management, unless at the detailed team level, that's the direction we're taking with this. So with the CSV, exporting the CSV raw data, you can pull up and I will actually show you this in the demo. You can pull up a saved filter in the resource planning view or create a new one. And then exporting gives you the option to further restrict your date range and break down by weeks, months, quarters, or a summary. Once the export is downloaded, you can pull up the data in a spreadsheet or elsewhere. As Edna mentioned before, you can also have your team integrate their Office 365 or Google Calendars in cloud. And you can see their true availability in the exported capacity report as well for about 90 days out. With the calendar events. So this gives that big picture to the resource managers and team leads to see availability while taking into account their meetings or other calendar event commitments. All right, so we've set up our view here, and I just want to go back a bit. Nope. In fact, this date range is not as important as when you export it, it'll have you say which date range you want. But it does take the filter. So when you're filtering by users, roles, maybe even generic resources, teams for sure, that's what you're going to be exporting. So click here in the upper right-hand corner for export capacity report. And it is based on those selected filters. You can choose the start date, the end date. It does need to be in the future, of course. And from there, you can get a summary as well. So let's do maybe the next month here. And you can also choose, like I said, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or a summary of this. So let's do weekly. And then when you click export, it'll go ahead and save that for you. So let's take a look at, I've just opened up an export I did actually in the name, it will show you what you exported for the capacity. The date range is from January to June. And I did do a little bit here in Excel in order to just show you what's possible. So you do have your users, your resources that show up, also their roles, but each week, so I exported this as weekly. Each week you'll see here, it says from the 25th of January to the 29th. You'll be able to see the capacities by hour. You'll be able to see the full-time equivalents, which is calculated by dividing each employee's capacity in hours, subtracting the holidays, and then by the hours of a full-time work week according to the default workload scheme. So, the norm is that the capacity would be 1 for full-time equivalent for each person if they're in the default schemes. Their calendar events, which I mentioned, also their planned hours, of course, and then their availability. So this is a nice way if you do the, filter by the headings, that you can sort and see who has 0 available hours on the team, who has the most in that week. Yeah, and then be able to use that information. So this is the upcoming export of the capacity report on cloud. I did also want to give a nod to our capacity report that's been out for a while now on data center and server. It is a bit more visual and has a chart as well as a table. So both of our Tempo Planner products, both cloud and then our on-premise, the data center and server apps, have this idea of a full-time equivalent. So we developed the on-premise report first, and the full-time equivalent concept we knew our customers were using. However, we did get the feedback that others wanted the calculation in hours instead. So that's what you'll see in what I showed you with a cloud capacity report. So you can use both methods on cloud. With this report, you can also see the percentage capacity, and the orange red bar will show you if you're over capacity. Capacity report is one of the many reports you can generate in Tempo Planner. So I'd like to go next into the planned report and plan versus actual reports as well, to show you more ways to slice and dice your plans as well as your time tracking actuals with Tempo timesheets. During and after you've executed on your plans, make sure you can spend the time to review your data and look for patterns and spot bottlenecks, as well as continuous improvement. As you can with all Tempo reports, you'll see you can drill down into projects, accounts. You can group by epic, role, team, and more. And you can use this data in your retros in order to have a clearer picture of your project and start the discussion. So the visual aspect of Planner means that you can adjust plans directly from the resource planning view and even put filters in there. That allows you to quickly react in that centralized screen and have that visibility. We are also about to deliver one of our top voted ideas, which is sharing reports. In the near future, we are releasing the ability for you to share a report with your colleague in Tempo, and this is actually already in our early access program for those of you in there. Sharing will still preserve the permissions of plans and work logs each user is able to see, and this way you can easily reuse a reporting format to communicate around plans with your team or management. So that'll increase your visibility and efficiency. So I'd like to show you quickly here the plan time report and the plan versus actuals report. So you can see how Tempo Planner and Tempo timesheets work hand in hand to give you the big picture of what's upcoming and then what actually happened. All right, so to get into the Tempo report section, you'll just click on the menu, and then we can pull up for creating a new report. So we also have Tempo timesheets installed on this instance as well. That gives you log time. Plan time comes with Tempo Planner, the app, and then plan versus actual comes when you have installed both apps. So I think it's a really valuable tool to be able to analyze your data even more without leaving the system. I just wanted to show you one of the planned reports, the planned vacation report, which rest is an important component of efficiency and it often gets overlooked. So as a team lead and as a team member, you can better plan your days off so you get time to rest and rejuvenate. And this is a nice way your team can also take a look. So you'll just filter by the issue that your company uses for vacation, and you can set it dynamically to be this quarter, next quarter, even farther into the future is doable. And then you can look by month, group by month, by days, by weeks, by quarters, or an overview as well. So here we see that in the Lunar Mech team, we have David Carmichael, who has 40 hours planned of vacation. So this might be the chance to go to your team and say, I need more of you to plan your vacation for summer. We need to plan our time. We need to make sure we, you get enough rest this year. etc. But it starts with those conversations, and then you can also see some other columns here, required hours and planned capacity. Let's go back to reports, and I will show you one last plan versus actual. So you'll see down here, we'll look at the lunar projects. All right, so we've got some nice visuals here in the plan versus actual report. You can see the total plan time, the total actual time that's logged in Tempo timesheets, and then the time variance between them, as well as the role variance, because we're grouping by role here. So you can quickly see, for example, your developers, how much time do we plan against those users that had developer as a role, and then how much they actually logged. So we had a lot of time logged versus planned. There was a bit of variance there. Versus geologists, we planned some, but we didn't actually log any time against any users that were geologist roles, UX designers, etc. So this is just a quick, easy way to filter and then group and see what you've used, what you've planned, and then what your actual time logged against it is. And you'll see accounts here as well. Accounts is a concept across both Tempo timesheets and Tempo planner. So you can make sure the issues you're planning against have an account field on them, and then they'll show up here as well. That's about it for the reporting that I want to show you and how you can improve your efficiency. I'm going to hand it back to my colleague Olaf to show you where to go next to find out more.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Yes, so what next for the audience? Here are some helpful resources for you to explore after this session. And don't worry, we will share all the links via email. So first off, you can integrate Tempo to your other system with our APIs. We have a pretty good documentation and a Slack ecosystem that you can join to ask others for help in your integrations. We do have some integrations available out of the box, and those we do have that on our website listed. Our help center is a wealth of resources, and if you prefer visual learning, we do have a YouTube playlist for you. Now, we would also like to encourage everyone here to sign up for our upcoming fireside chat with ALM Works, where we will discuss how Tempo and structure for Jira will come together. This is on February 17th, and registration is required. And if you are going to Las Vegas in April, we hope to see you there in our booth at Atlassian's Team 2022 or during Apps Day, which will be hosted the day before Team 22 starts by 5 of the largest vendors in the Atlassian ecosystem, including Tempo. And with that, we'll move on to Q&A and we'll answer as many questions as we have time for. So let's see what we have here. All right. Maybe, Mayank, this is a great follow-up after the capacity report that Carolyn covered. How can I use Planner with timesheets?
Yeah, Olaf, so I think one of the features that I really like is the report that Carolyn was showing earlier, is the log time. It's a report that combines log time and plan time. So it's called plan versus actual. There, users who log time will show up against their plan time, and you can see the variance. So that's a really good way to visualize your efficiency of the teams and also your planning process. We also have integration where your plan time will show up in your My Work view. Actually, I answered one question there. So it's also very easy for users to log time against the plan time. So we're kind of like thinking how to connect these two products and make the experience more seamless.
Exactly, thank you. And there is a question here about accounts and what is it used for. And accounts are a really nice feature that you can use to categorize work. You can use it in your reporting. And I think we might have some additional, let me see, a lot of questions. Yeah, it's a way of organizing your time, often for tracking billable work or capitalizing operational expenses. So you can assign customers as an account, or it can be projects or initiatives within your organization. So it's a really handy tool to use. All right, so let's see if we have more questions here. Okay, Carolyn, there's a couple of questions here for you. Is it possible to plan repeating days, for example, 8 hours every Wednesday between February 2nd and April 2nd?
Yes, I did want to answer this also to give the nuance. So we did release this in the resource planning view of Cloud. You are able to do weekly or biweekly repeating plans. So that you'll be able to do. I think I showed that as well. I think this question came in right before that. We don't yet have that in Server Data Center. Yeah, so that hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, great, thank you. Here's another one for you too, Carolyn. We often see projects being planned and then postponed and moved to the right. How will this look like in Tempo? Do I have to touch every single resource?
Yes, so that's a really good question, and it's something we see often with our customers because many times, projects are not set in stone. So for example, if you're bidding on a contract and you want to plan out if you could take it, what would it look like? Kind of the simplest way I can think of to do this is to plan via your generic resources and maybe not touching your actual resources yet. But if you are planning by your actual resources and you update it, then you will need to move those. So from the visual standpoint, I think that's the easiest place to just drag and drop things to the right. If you're at the long-term planning level, you may still just have it at, this team is going to take it, and like the generic resources, like I showed. That might be the easiest, and then you just keep moving it to the right, so that it's kind of planning on a generic team for the future. Hopefully that answer gives you some ideas on how to creatively do this, because it won't be the same every time. I think it just depends on how far down the line you are with planning. But usually, if it's canceled, or postponed, it's further into the future. So maybe you haven't planned on down to the resource level yet. That's what I would say for that one.
Right, and I think that covered 2 more questions as well that are similar. How would I know the resource is released again if the plan is changed or the work took less time as planned? The last one, if it took less time than planned, it would be helpful to have timesheets so that you can track time and then do the plan versus actual time report. But what if the plan changes? How will, for example, the release manager, how can they know that the plan for a resource has been changed?
Yeah, so if you're the approver on a plan, you will be notified. So for example, if someone has planned vacation and then needs to update it, we do have notifications within Tempo Planner to let you know. So it does depend on what you as the resource manager having that visibility, or as an approver of a plan. That is a nice kind of feedback loop to give you insight into what's happening with the plan. As I talked about in my last slides there, the work taking less time than planned, definitely using Tempo timesheets to track the time is going to give you that insight, and before it's too late as well. So being able to visualize that very quickly to see, okay, this is taking longer than we planned or expected, and being able to adjust on the fly. So that's definitely one of the strengths of using these 2 products together.
Exactly, thank you. And one last question before we call it a day. I don't know, Edna or Carolyn, if you want to touch on this one. We have been planning using the percentage for the team member on the Teams page using the timeline. Is that not relevant on the planning page? I guess they're referring to the resource overview. Does that mean we have to calculate percentage to hours? What would be your recommendation there?
Yeah, on the main resource planning view, it is not taking into account the team commitment. It's looking at an overview already, so you'll know which ones you're planning. So it doesn't do exactly the same thing as the timeline view does.
All right, perfect. And that's all the time we have today. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much to my co-presenters here today. Carolyn, anything that you want to say before we close the session?
I'm really grateful for everyone who attended to be able to share this knowledge about getting started with Tempo Planner. I hope you learned something new today, maybe a tip or a trick that you didn't know before, even if you're a longtime user. We really appreciate your attendance, and thank you very much for having me.
Yes, thank you, Edna, for your presentation. Thank you, Mayank, for staying on hand for the Q&A. To the audience, if you have any further questions, you can always reach out to us and our very helpful sales and support team. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Take care and goodbye.